Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Understanding the Rainbow. I'm one of your hosts, Clint, and I'm joined by my wife.
Ashley?
Hey, Ashley. How's the basement?
It's kind of chilly.
Yeah. Uh, so, on this episode, we are going to be doing. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. We are not doing, sorry, we are discussing lesbians.
Yes.
And I just want everyone to know, in all the research for this episode, I did not once look at lesbian porn.
I'm shocked.
I know, me too. Not once. Didn't even come up. You think you Google lesbian immediately, porn. Not true. It did not. So, we could discuss we could discuss a lot of things. But first of all, just a quick update from our lives. We had our living room repainted, a wonderful green, and today we put up some shelves that we built for our pictures. So there you go. That's what happened this week in our lives. Exciting lives. Other than the
Exciting.
kids, I think screamed all of today.
Oh,
Not
that's every day, though.
Yeah, but not, and they didn't even scream angrily today that I noticed. It was they just screamed all day. Anyways, so where does the term lesbian come from? You were asking somebody out there.
Yes.
The word, so I took this answer straight from Wikipedia. So if you go and look at it, I'm reading it verbatim because I'm not going to reword it. That's silly. The word lesbian is derived from the name of the Greek island of, I'm going to assume it's Lesbos
Hmm.
or Lesbos, but it's spelled like Lesbos, home to the 6th century BCE poet Sappho. From various ancient writings, historians gathered that a group of young women were left in Sappho's charge for their instruction of cultural edification. Little of Sappho's poetry survives, but her remaining poetry reflects the topics she wrote about: women's daily lives, their relationships, and rituals. She focused on the beauty of women and proclaimed her love for girls. Before the mid 19th century, the word lesbian referred to any derivative or aspect of Lesbos, or Lesbos, including a type of wine. In Algernon Charles Swinburne's 1866 poem Sapphics, the term lesbian appears twice, but capitalized both times after twice mentioning the island of Lesbos, or Lesbos. And so it could be construed to mean from the island of Lesbos. In 1875, George Saintsbury, in writing about Baudelaire's poetry, refers to his lesbian studies, in which he includes his poem about the Passion of Delphine, or Delphine, which is a poem simply about love between two women, which does not mention the island of Lesbos, or Lesbos. Though the other poem alluded to, entitled Lesbos, does. Use of the word lesbianism to describe erotic relationships between women had been documented in 1870, and in 1890 the term lesbian was used in a medical dictionary as an adjective to describe tribadism, as lesbian love. The terms lesbian, invert, and homosexual were interchangeable with Sapphist and Sapphism around the turn of the 20th century. The use of lesbian in a medical literature became prominent. By 1925, the word was recorded as a noun to mean the female equivalent of a sodomite. End quote. So there you go.
Okay, couple questions about that.
Yes. Probably can't answer them, but go
So,
ahead.
so this island, were all these women there on their own free will, or did
I
this
think
one
that's
main girl
that's
like capture them and say, "You're coming with me to this island because I want to study you"?
no. It from what I gather, it was of their own free will. You
Okay,
also have
but
to remember in Greek and Roman times that it was much more accepted. To
To be gay,
yes, yeah,
lesbian.
being gay was not as big a deal in those times, and even really, if you think about Native American history, but it was actually accepted there as well.
Okay, so this one main girl, she went up to a bunch of women and said, "Hey, let's go to an island where it's just gonna be all females and see what happens."
Well, she was a poet, so I don't. They
Yeah, but she loved the female. She loved females.
yes,
That's
she
what you
did,
said.
and I'm sure she probably required only because it said she was in charge of their instruction or cultural edification. So I would.
Right. So it sounds like they're slaves. Were they her sex slaves?
I to me, in charge of their instruction would mean that she's in charge of their education.
Well, to me, it sounds like she was in charge of everything.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they didn't mind. I don't know. Maybe a bunch of women who just felt very strongly about women were like, I'm going to go live on this island with a bunch of other women. I mean,
Or they hated men.
yeah, or they hated men. There's always that possibility too. Uh,
The other thing that you mentioned was that the word lesbian was in a medical report.
yes.
Were they classifying lesbianism as like a medical condition, like
Yes,
something was
well,
wrong with them?
yes. It's not in the research that I have here, but I do remember reading. So at one point, though, all homosexual activity was considered a mental illness. And if you ask some backwards people to this day, they would still say it's a mental illness. But lesbianism also would have been yes.
Hmm.
But if you think there was that Netflix show, and I don't remember the name of it, but you watched it, and I watched parts of it. There was like a medical show in like the late 1800s, early 1900s, where the woman was secretly a lesbian. Do you remember?
No.
But she worked at a hospital where they tried these different forms of therapies on women and men and whatever to get them. It was like conversion therapy.
Okay. So they're trying to convert them back to being
Yes.
straight?
Yes, because they thought it was a mental illness. The idea, and again, this still goes on today. It's pretty horrifying, and there are some states. I know Canada's outlawed it, and I know a lot of states have outlawed it, but there are still states that allow conversion therapy, where they do. I know back in the 1800s, whatever, it was shock therapy. It was all kinds of terrible, horrible things. Whereas is now, I don't know what it is now. I don't frequent conversion therapy websites to say what it is that they do, but it's terrible because obviously there are still people out there who think that it's a mental illness and that you can be and there's people who think you choose to be gay, right? And
Right.
which I just say here on episode 2, hot take, is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. To choose to be gay, well, like, you think about how hard gay people have it, and the LGBTQ community has it, in life, and you go, why would someone choose to do that? That doesn't make sense. No one's sitting around one day and just goes, you know what? I want to make my life a lot harder. I want people to curse me out as I walk by if I'm trying to hold someone's hand that's the same gender or whatever, So
Right.
no, I don't understand how people would think that. It doesn't make sense to me personally. So
Right.
one of the other things, so my going into this episode was I just thought of some questions and then I Googled those questions, and one of those questions is ridiculous, but whatever. This one was kind of a ridiculous notion as well. I asked, why does lesbian come first in LGBTQ? So there's actually, up until I believe the 80s, 90s, it was the GLBT. And then it got switched, or some people still refer to it as GLBT. But so there was a couple different answers I found, and both were pretty interesting. One, and I'm going to quote. I'll include the website that I'm taking these quotes from. The push to change the order came with a surge of feminist ideas that sprouted in the 80s and 90s. The AIDS crisis also factored into the gay-lesbian solidarity that led to lesbians being more recognized in the community. While a huge portion of gay men were suffering from AIDS, the lesbian community was largely unaffected. Lesbians were the ones helping gay men with medical care. They were also a massive part of the activism surrounding the gay community and AIDS at the time. This was a show of lesbians' willingness to support gay men in their time of need and sparked a closer, more supportive relationship between both groups. The increased solidarity between the two groups led to a rise in feminism in both lesbians and gay men, with both the men and women of the community being far more receptive to feminist ideas. The push to have the L come first went relatively smoothly. The lesbian community, through their struggles and important role in the community, have more than earned their spot as the first letter in the LGBTQ. So when people refer to the community and other orders such as GLBT, they are unintentionally ignoring the struggles and importance of the lesbian community. Another one I had, and this one was really, really cool too. So The Advocate, a pretty influential rag as gay magazines go, so magazine, instituted a policy of styling the acronym LGBT in the 1990s. In that magazine, copy editor Trudy Ring called this change a reminder that gay women are not simply a subset of the larger male world. Now let's talk about Stonewall. For those of you that don't know, Stonewall refers to a series of riots against police brutality at the Stonewall Inn, a New York City gay bar in 1969. They're widely seen as catalyzing the modern gay rights movement. As it turns out, what seems to have been the first blows of that uprising were struck by a lesbian, a stone butch, not my words, this person's, who single-handedly fought off cops for 10 minutes. Reports vary, but many believe the scrapper was a drag king, Storm de Larviere, now hailed as the Rosa Parks of the gay rights movement. So that's the end of that quote. So you had two different stories. One, obviously, with the AIDS movement, which makes a lot of sense to really think about that, is obviously AIDS was and is still a terrible thing, but obviously only affected the gay men community, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
But I thought yeah. But AIDS can be transmitted to anyone.
No, of
really.
course. But like, it was much more prevalent within the gay male community.
Right.
So the lesbians were not hardly at all affected by it directly, obviously. And then the other one being that this at the Stonewall Inn, that a lesbian was the first one to throw a punch. So they earned the L first.
Girl power.
Yeah, girl power, and they earned the L first.
That's good.
Yeah,
I think women should come first anyway.
they should. I agree. Otherwise, they don't get to.
Right, exactly.
Unless you're
More ways
lesbians.
than one.
Unless you're lesbians. Then a female always comes first. Sorry, well, sexual stuff. So I had one last question, and then I will let Ashley talk about her thing, because I know she has some stuff too. I wanted to know, and this is hard hitting right here on Understanding the Rainbow, is scissoring a thing? For those of you that don't know, you're going to say yes?
Yes.
Okay, you're not a lesbian though. or is she? We'll find out later. So for those of you who don't know, scissoring is basically, if you're not watching on YouTube, you're going to have to take my explanation for it, is when two women do this. And if you're not watching, they literally, one basically mashes the vagina into the other one's vagina in this motion. So it's very prevalent on porn, obviously. So I looked, and I found on Reddit where this exact question was asked, and a bunch of lesbians chimed in. So according to this Reddit poll, yes, it is a thing, but not something that they do more than once in a relationship, as is a very inefficient and uncomfortable way of getting any pleasure. So there you go. It's much more for men. I think it's one of those things where lesbians, and I'm not one, and if you are one, please please hit up Ashley on Twitter and schedule an interview because we would love to talk to you. Is that basically it's something men like to see on porn, and it's one of those things that girls or lesbians will try it once just because it's on porn, and then they go, no, that's terrible, probably. So there you go.
Well, I guess like just thinking about like scissoring, like I think it could be enjoyable, but you need to be like very flexible because you need to get like right in there to be able to
Right.
rub each other.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But
like,
then like you might as well just be using your hands.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Now you have your answer.
There you have it. Is scissoring a thing? Kind of.
Kind of. I guess it's like a we'll try it at least once thing.
Yeah. Right. It's kind of like, I mean, there's a lot of, I guess, sex acts out there that couples will try once, and some of them will like it, and some of them will not, and some of them will keep doing it, and some will be like, yeah, I tried it that once, didn't care for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I looked up was I wanted to know the different types of lesbians because I've always heard of like the lipstick lesbians, the butch lesbians. So I wanted to actually break them down. So what I found was there could be different names for all these different kind of lesbians, but this is the one that I found on the internet, and we'll put the link below as well. I found 13 different types of lesbians.
Okay.
So the first one is called the activist lesbian.
Okay.
Now, the activist lesbian is characterized by her passion for social justice, especially as it pertains to being a lesbian. Butch, femme, young, and old, the activist lesbian can look like any other type of lesbian you might meet. Her inspiration, passion, and a lover for justice.
Okay. That makes
So like
sense.
a feminist.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
thinking.
thinking.
Like a feminist lesbian. Yeah. Which I would
Right,
assume.
like they're proud to be lesbians, but yeah, I would think a lot of lesbians are like
I would
that.
assume, and again, and assume is make an ass out of you and me, that I would assume that all lesbians in some form or fashion are feminine.
Yeah. So the second one I found was the obvious one, the lipstick lesbians. So the lipstick lesbians, or the femme lesbians, love to dress in highly feminine or girly manner. She is the kind of lesbians that wear skirts, dresses, jewelry, lipsticks, elaborate blowouts, and more, because these ladies go all out.
So those are the ones that typically, if you're going to watch lesbian porn, is what you would look for.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the models type. Well, not even the models type. Like the ones that take care of themselves and are proud of the girly side of them as well. Right. So the next one, I chuckled a little bit because we went for the lipstick lesbians too. The chapstick lesbian. Now, the chapstick lesbian is a dividing line between a lipstick lesbian and a butch lesbian.
Okay.
While butch lesbians revel in looking masculine and lipstick lesbians like looking ultra girly, a chapstick lesbian, also known as a soft butch, can go either way. She likes dressing up, but is equally happily in jeans and button-downs.
So it'd be kind of like a tomboy.
Yeah, but tomboys mostly only dress like boys, don't they? Like you
Not
don't
in romantic
rarely...
comedies. They always end up in a dress.
That's true. The whole makeover thing at the end there.
What was the one with Freddie Prinze Jr.? She's all that.
She's all that.
See,
Yeah.
Tomboy, then a dress.
Yeah, that's true.
She was a chapstick lesbian the entire time.
Movie is solved. Now we understand. So then we go into the next one, which is the butch lesbian. The butch lesbian presents herself as tough, makeup-free, and masculine to one degree or another. This doesn't mean that she's trying to look like a man. She's just expressing her idea of what a woman should look like and looking hot as hell in the process.
Okay. I think that's. Now, I'm going to probably get flack for this. I would say that's the most common type in real life. Probably. Maybe not. I don't know. Like, I don't know a lot of lesbians, but all the ones I have known have been more butch like.
Really?
Yes.
See, I would disagree with you. The ones that I've known are more of the lipstick ones or
Okay.
the chapstick ones. And a lot of the ones on TV are all like lipstick ones, like even
No,
in
yeah, well,
TV shows
because it's, yeah.
nowadays and stuff like that. But like that's what you
I
most
think
commonly see.
for,
But
yeah, for society in general watching TV, it probably makes lesbians more palatable to watch for straight men, I guess, so that they still feel good about it, I guess. I don't know.
right. See, but the one thing about the butch lesbians that I don't understand, and I would love clarification from somebody about this, about like why do they think that dressing like a man is the way that they think a woman should look like?
It's a power move.
Really?
I don't know.
Because you
I
could
don't,
still.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I think maybe men's clothes are more comfortable and they just like it better.
More than a dress, like a
I don't know. I've never
sundress.
ever worn a
Like
dress.
for
Are
me,
dresses
like
comfortable?
yeah, it feels like you're wearing nothing at all.
Oh, okay. Then I don't know.
No, I don't know. Like that's what I'm.
No,
I
no. We need someone to come on and tell us. Like that's the great thing about this show is I want a lipstick lesbian on here. I want a chapstick lesbian. I want a butch lesbian. I want all 13 kinds. And we'll do an episode for each one to ask all
yeah,
these questions because we don't know. Like all we can do right now until we have these people on is read this information and guess.
right.
And I promise you
And
to
ask
everyone
her
out there,
questions and throw it out there.
right? We're throwing it out there, and for anyone who's listening and going, that's not the right thing to say. We don't know. I wouldn't say it if I thought it was going to offend somebody. I mean, sometimes.
Like I'm not trying to
but
offend anyone.
No,
Like dress
we just don't
however you
know.
want to dress, but like
Yeah,
just from this definition alone, like doesn't mean that she's trying to look like a man, but
right,
that's the way she's dressing.
right,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and usually they have like the short, spiky hair.
right. Which, like the hair, I would understand in a comfortability standpoint.
Yeah.
You are often very warm in the summer with your long hair. So I would guess from that that would be why. Like I get to wake up and this is already the way it is, pretty much. So
Right. Okay, so let's move on to the next lesbian that I found. The Stone Butch lesbian. Now, the Stone Butch lesbian is a butch lesbian who endures sexual pleasure from giving other women pleasure. She's a giver, not a receiver.
okay,
Yes. So just like gays, like there's the receiver and
yeah.
the giver, right?
Yeah. I think when you watch lesbian porn, and again, that's all I have for reference, they're always doing stuff to each other. It's never like one's doing stuff to the other. I mean, well, like one will be doing stuff to the other, but then they'll switch roles. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
they'll just kind of lay side by side and do stuff.
Yeah. So the next one, I'm going to pronounce this one
No,
wrong.
okay. Can I go back to Stone Butch?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Sorry. So does that mean so she only likes giving and not receiving?
Yes.
But then the butch part comes in, so I assume also likes to dress. Sorry, I hit my mic.
Well, I think the butch is being the manly like, so she's taking charge and being the man when it comes to sex.
Okay.
Do you do you understand that? Like
Not really.
for me, when I hear the word like butch, it's like it said, like manly, masculine,
Sure,
tough.
but men like to receive too.
I know, but when it comes to like lesbians, like
Okay.
I don't know.
If there's any stone butches out
I don't
there,
want to say anything. And,
please, if there are any stone butches out there, please come on and explain it to us, because now I'm as
so, like
confused.
that then the other question is, does she actually get off while her partner gets
Right.
off by her giving?
Do
Like,
then the other question being, if they don't get off and they just like giving, would that make them a form of asexual?
I don't know.
See, there's so many layers. Layer, like an onion, as Shrek said.
Right.
Onions have layers.
So the next one, I'm going to pronounce this one wrong. The boy lesbian, it's BOI.
Yeah,
So
okay,
Miss
boy.
Boy.
Yeah. It's like the weird sorry, not weird. The new age way of spelling boy because the
Oh,
Y is too hard to get to on the keyboard.
right.
So you go to the I. Because the
Okay.
O and the I are closer on the keyboard. And it's like, oh, I gotta lift to go like 2 keys over. So that's my guess.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So there are boys in the gay community and the lesbian community. In the lesbian community, the boy's lesbian is biologically female but presents as looking boyish. Boys tend to date older partners.
Okay.
Okay, so
I have seen the
what's the
term
difference
gay boy.
between what's the difference between a butch lesbian who is masculine from one degree or the other and the boy who
See, to me,
presents as looking
Butch
boyish?
would represent a more mature looking, and
Okay, so it's
boy
man and
would
then
be
boy.
like if you're almost like emo tight jeans, but kind of still short hair, long short hair, but then likes older women or guys if it's a gay guy.
Right. So like the sort of like a younger
So it would be like
lesbian.
cougar lesbians. If it's, I hope that's not coming up already, and I just coined that.
No.
Would be going after lesbian boy boi. Sorry,
Okay.
I think.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. The next one, the power lesbian. The power lesbian is a lesbian with her life together. She's the leader in her field, the top of the top. She's the best surgeon, the best lawyer, the most influential policymaker. She's all about taking on the head honcho role and crushing it.
Okay. That's
So you see a lot of these in like the CEO positions
Yeah.
and everything. Not saying all female CEOs are lesbians.
all of them are lesbians. That's the hot. That's what Ashley's saying right now. No, obviously not.
No.
Unless they
But
are,
they're
then that's cool too. I mean, obviously, if that's the case, women need to all become lesbians. Not that you could
But like
choose
when
it
I
again.
but when I think of like the power lesbian, I think of like I know she's getting a bad rep right now, but like Ellen DeGeneres. Like she came out and her life was like ruined for a while there, but she pushed through to get to the top and like look at her now.
Yeah, no, I agree. That would be a good. That would be a good instance of a power lesbian. Ellen, if you're listening to this, we'll take your interview.
Ellen. All right, the next one, number 8. The has-been lesbian.
I'm sorry.
The has-been.
Hasbian.
Yes.
Okay.
HASBIAN. Am I pronouncing it
That
correctly?
sounds right. Yeah.
Okay. A has-been is a woman who once identified as a lesbian, but now dates men, and doesn't identify themselves as being straight or bi. They were a lesbian, now they are dating a man. And who knows what the future might hold. So that's a very confusing one to me. So they're dating men right now, but they still identify as a lesbian.
Okay.
Is that what?
No, you explained it right. I just, well, I mean, I'm assuming you explained it right. I don't understand. It's almost like a lesbian that's testing the waters, maybe, and still isn't ready to grab onto that. Okay, maybe I'm straight. I don't know, like, or no, you couldn't say you're straight if you were.
Like it says who once identified as a lesbian. So
Right.
they were a lesbian. So what are they now if they're dating a man?
Right.
Like that would be bi to me. Like
That me too. Like I said, and now if there's an instance where they're like, I'm just gonna try out dating a guy and see how it goes to see if that's something
right.
I'm interested in, and they're dating a guy, but they still identify as a lesbian, because maybe like after a month of dating the guy, they'd be like, no, I don't like this, and I just go back to women. Or they might be
And
like,
like
okay, this is fine, and then become bisexual. So I guess it's kind of a transition term.
maybe like in
Yeah,
between.
like,
But
well,
like what do you say to the guy that you're on a date with? Like, hey, I'm a lesbian? Or like all my partners before you have been
women.
women?
And to me, if, and I don't know if I'm speaking out of ignorance here, obviously, because I don't, because everything, I don't know any of this. If you're, if you've been with women and you were a lesbian, are a lesbian, whatever, and you go to test out dating men, that's fine. But if you decide that, hey, men are fine too, to me, you would be bisexual. There would be no, you couldn't just go straight unless you were like, hey, unless you were like, hey, I find women attractive and they're fun and all, but I really don't see myself having a future with them, and I will never explore that part of me again. Then I guess you could say you're straight.
I guess.
You know,
I
does
don't
that
know.
make sense?
I think we leave that one like it's in between. Like
Yeah,
you're
you're a
not sure
transition.
where.
You're trying to figure out if you're just straight lesbian or, not sorry, if you're just lesbian or bisexual, possibly straight. I guess I don't know.
Right. So if there's any lesbians out there that identify as that, please let us
Yeah,
know as well.
seriously. I feel like, in all fairness, I think that's something a guy would probably jump on. Literally, like if someone came, if a girl came up and said, "I want to date you, but I'm a lesbian," that guy immediately is going to have images of a threesome in his future, right? Not all guys, obviously, but like some guys
Yeah.
would be like, "All right, maybe she'll want to," and he would probably be fine with it. Is my guess.
Unless she says like I'm done with
Right. Then yeah,
females.
yeah.
'Cause that's usually what how like how some females uh, get into the lesbian community. Is by like saying I'm done with men. Men are assholes.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
And then they go and test what else interests
Yeah.
them, right?
And find out that, oh, they like women a lot more anyways.
Right. So the next one, it's called the lug lesbian, or lug,
Sure. Lug.
Lug.
Yep, lug.
It stands for lesbian under graduation. This is an undergraduate lesbian curious girl who is finally exploring her sexuality and discovering that she is attracted to women. This could be a phase, but that's up to them. Now, to me, like a lot with the graduation, like I think of like college girls
Yeah.
who
Mm-hmm.
there's always that college experience, right?
Right. Did you have a college experience?
No, I never went away for college,
Oh, right. Yeah, you stuck around.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay.
But this is like a stage that I could understand. Like I've always been curious about it, and like it's always been like in one of my bucket lists, like
Mm-hmm.
just to have some kind of
A relation like that. Yep.
just yeah,
An
like even if
experience.
it's just a one experience, yeah. If it's even if it's just a one time thing, like I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I do find like women attractive, and like when I watch porn, like it's always lesbian porn that usually gets me off. So
Right. No, and I thought about talking about that, where I think most women probably fit in that when they watch porn, they prefer to watch lesbian porn because the focus of the person getting pleasure is on the woman and not the woman pleasuring the man.
right,
So
could be,
that's a common thing I've heard.
yeah. So the next one I found was number 10, the sport dyke lesbian. Now, the sport dyke lesbian isn't categorized as much as being attracted to other women as much as she is obsessed with her sport of choice.
Okay.
Not all lesbians are sports dykes, but all sports dykes are definitely lesbians. Can you explain that to me? Because I am confused about that whole sentence right there.
Well, I mean, I think it's just women that are attracted to other women and are obsessed with a sport. So when it says not all lesbians are sport dykes, not all lesbians like sports, so they can't all be sport dykes. But all sport dykes are clearly lesbians.
Okay. So they're just lesbians who like sports.
Yes. Obsessively, maybe. Upset or like kind of like how I like the Cubs. They lost
Shouldn't
terribly
skip
today, by
that.
the way, and yesterday.
Okay. That's an odd one.
Well,
Not odd.
yeah.
I just don't
I don't
understand it.
understand why you would categorize a type of lesbian based on her interest. You know what I mean?
Unless it like goes like further than what this definition actually is. Like, do they
Unless they
like
like get
role
off.
play to be
Yeah,
like
maybe
soccer players or something like that,
they could
or
only make love
who's going
during
to
a
score
baseball
the
game.
goal first? Touchdown. I don't
Right.
know. I don't know.
They use only sports terms while they're in bed. I'm going.
Flag on the
Yeah,
play.
yeah. We got a flag on the play. My, I'm going down to the goalposts here.
That's strike two.
Yeah,
We're terrible.
maybe.
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
All right. Number 11, the baby dyke lesbian. The baby dyke lesbian is a fond title given to a woman who had just come out of the closet and started becoming a part of the lesbian community. She could be a femme, butch, chapstick, or anything else. But for now, she is characterized by her newest to the scene.
Okay, that's yeah, brand new lesbian. Okay,
So like new money, like from Titanic, like.
yeah, right.
But like that's kind of demeaning, I think. Like why? Like why? Why
Well,
call them a baby dyke lesbian?
I think. Well, so there's always at least okay. Obviously, my experience is mostly in movies and shows. If you
And
think
porn.
about Supergirl,
Okay.
the show Supergirl,
Yes.
when Alex, the character of Alex, first came out, and her first girlfriend was that Latino woman, cop,
Mm-hmm.
that the she did not want to date Alex because she was new to being gay, and she had a lot to learn. So Alex, in that instance, would have been a baby dyke. So I think there's this, and again, I don't know, my experiences off of TV shows. There's this idea that
So she didn't have experience.
yeah,
So
they don't
someone
they
that
don't know
doesn't
what
have.
they want. They don't know anything about the community. They're brand new to it, so they're a baby. You're just like it's like being born. They don't know anything about the world, right? So they don't. And as much as there is an LGBTQ community, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so and being that we're outside of it, we don't know the ins and outs. Like I've been very close to it when I lived with my friend Matt, but I still wasn't in it. You can't be in it unless you are it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, that would be my
Okay.
guess on Baby Dyke.
Baby dyke. All right. The next.
Baby Dyke, do. Sorry.
Uh, the femme lesbian. So the femme lesbian is a title for the lesbian who identifies as a woman and falls into the traditional feminine mannerism and style. Femme lesbians are sometimes mistaken for straight, as they are very feminine and like to dress up and wear makeup and look like a straight girl. However, there are sometimes they do feel that they need to prove their gayness.
So lipstick lesbians.
Right? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like, how do you look like a straight girl?
No,
But
I
like
think
walking
it.
down the
I
street,
think
like
it
I
was.
wouldn't know if someone is a straight girl or a
I think the
lesbian.
idea
Like,
is traditional looking. I don't know. Like, that's so bad to say. It feels bad to say. But you know what I mean? Like, it's a traditional girl, dresses, makeup, whatever. But lipstick lesbian seems to be the same thing. But in my mind, if I took lipstick lesbian and if I heard lipstick lesbian and I heard femme lesbian, is that what you said, right? Femme lesbian?
yeah.
To me, lipstick lesbian means almost teenage to 30, and femme lesbian would be kind of 30 plus, 30 to 40 plus.
Okay.
I don't know that to be true. That's just in my mind. If I pictured the two terms side by side, that's how I would in my head categorize them. That could be completely wrong though.
Could be.
Could be, probably is.
All right. Last lesbian. Now, this one is called the stud lesbian. The stud lesbian is a butch woman or a non-binary person who is of Black or Latin descent. Only Black and Latin women can use this lesbian term as it is part of the community and is not to be mistaken or meant to be seen as a stud if someone is butch. A stud and butch lesbians are two different types of lesbians, and not all butch Black people are studs.
Okay. I don't. So when you were saying it, I was like, okay, butch means you're a white lesbian that is butch, and stud is if you're Black or Latina butch. But
Yes,
what you're
so
saying
you have
is
to be part of
you,
this special community.
right. But you're saying that you could be a Black or Latina butch woman and not be a stud.
Right.
So I don't understand. But okay,
Well, that was the 13 that I got.
that was 13 lesbians.
13 lesbians.
13 lesbians. Why? Okay. So the only other thing I have. So if you're looking in the top right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see. There you go. The lesbian flag. And I know what you're thinking. That's cool looking. Got some oranges, you got a white, you got a couple pinks in there. That's nice. So those colors have meanings, much as the LGBTQ flag did that we did in episode 1.
The pride flag.
The pride
Yep.
flag, yes. There it is.
So what do they mean?
So what they mean
Okay.
is orange, the top orange is gender non-conformity. The next orange is independence. The kind of peach color is community. The white is unique relationships to womanhood.
Okay.
The first pink is serenity and peace. The next pink is love and sex. And the last darker pink is femininity.
Okay, so they do take a lot of the colors and meanings from the actual pride flag
Right.
I've seen.
Yeah. Except for the womanhood one, yeah.
Do lesbians just, I don't know how to word this, display this flag in their house or in their yard or wherever, or do they go with the pride flag to represent everyone in the community?
If I had to be honest, and I'm gonna be, we know that each LGBTQ and all the rest all have their own flags. But I can tell you right now, I've never seen any of the other flags displayed anywhere. I've seen the pride flag and only the pride flag. I've never even seen the new pride flag. The what did we call it? What was it called last time? Progress. The progress flag.
Right.
I've never seen that one. Beyond here on our screen right now. I've never seen it displayed anywhere. I've only ever seen the original pride, not the original pride flag, the second pride flag. One sans the two colors that they couldn't produce anymore.
You think of like when you go into like gay men's houses, they usually have the pride flag.
But if you think about it, gay has its
Do
own
they
flag
have
too.
their own flag? Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Okay. So
For
I
sure.
guess it's all about being in like the one community. But then I also remember, I know I'm taking this from like TV shows and stuff like that and movies that I've watched, that gays and lesbians, they don't really get along. Is that true? Like, or is that just something that they are
I
portraying on
I
TV?
asked my friend Matt that exact question not too long ago because I was interested as well. Because as we remember on Modern Family,
Modern Family,
that
yes.
was the one of the running jokes on there, and he said, "Pretty true."
Really?
Yeah,
But even after all that history of when the
yeah.
females, the lesbians took care of all
I think it's
the,
just it's a thing of other than being homosexual, they have nothing in common.
I guess.
I mean, I don't know. I'm
But,
sure everyone's different. Just because you have a sexuality doesn't mean you have the same likes as everybody with that sexuality. Obviously,
right.
I think that's just probably a broad term.
So that's a yes and no.
Yes and no.
Like,
I think I think it's the same as probably any there are people you get along with and there are people you don't get along with. I don't think I don't get along with people because of their sexuality. I get along with people because of shared interests.
right.
You know what I mean? Like if a sport dyke who liked baseball came up to me and I'd be like, "Hey, yeah, you're cool. Let's talk about baseball." You know?
Yeah. Okay. No, I was just wondering because
No,
like on
he
TV
had
and
said in general, yes, that it's true. But again, that could be his experience, and some gay guys may get along really well with lesbians, and lesbians may get along with gay guys. I don't know. Like, there's a lot. So in 2013, a study was done,
okay.
and 96.6% of adults identified as straight.
96?
96.6. 1.6% identified as gay or lesbian, and 0.7% identified as bisexual. The remaining 1.1% of adults identified as something else or didn't know the answer.
Now, what year was this?
2013.
I would say that number is much higher now.
Possibly. I think there's it being that it's becoming more prevalent and more accepted. Yeah, that more people are accepting their sexuality. I also think because, and kind of like we've seen in a little bit of research, that there is a lot of sexualities that people find out that they fit into different categories. You may live the life of a straight person and be perfectly happy with that, and still, like in your case, you may or may not identify as a lug lesbian, sorry, and at the same time, live a straight life and be okay with it, but always have this kind of feeling of, man, I would like to just try it one time.
Right. Yeah, I guess. I just think that number would be a lot higher now if they did another survey.
Probably. And that was the first. I Googled it super fast right there. That was the first study I came across was that one in the Washington Post.
Well, I think, is there anything else you want to cover for lesbians?
No. I think that does it. I think so. After having done this episode, I found out that I am not a lesbian. So sorry to everybody out there if they thought I was going to convert over. I am still not a woman. So
there's still a lot of sexualities
there's
out
a
there.
lot of
that you might
sexualities
call
out
it.
there. Lesbian's not one of mine, purely based on
You can
the
cross
gender
that one
needed.
off your list.
Yeah, it's not lesbian. I do share something in common with lesbians in liking females. So there's that. Which one? So you think you would probably identify a little bit as a lug lesbian?
Yeah,
A little bit.
I'm curious.
Yeah, you're curious.
I think a lot of females are curious.
Probably, yeah. And for next week, we are going to be doing fluid.
Fluid?
Fluid.
Oh, I talked briefly about that on the introduction one.
Yes. So, yes, next week, we will be doing an episode on fluid. So, until next week, I'm Clint.
And I'm Ashley.
And thanks for listening to Understanding the Rainbow. We'll see you next week. Ashley, I'll see you in the bedroom in a couple minutes.
All right. Take care,
Good night,
everyone.
everyone.